Tulsi Gabbard following through, promising she was going to clean house and clean up the intel department. She's head of the DNI, and she's already making some key moves, firing a couple of people that are considered pretty critical, pretty crucial, but she considers them effectively to be on the other team. One named Mike Collins, we're going to get into him and his deputy. Again, this is the headline: Tulsi Gabbard firing deep state heads of Security Council who oppose Trump. So these are people that were effectively obstacles to the agenda, the MAGA agenda. And Tulsi's like, well, hey, you're either on the team or you're not on the team. But Intel is not going to run the team. There is a new CEO, effectively. The chief executive office is being held by one President Trump, and either you're going to follow through on that agenda or you're out. And so in this case, they're out. She perceived them as threats to the agenda, to the MAGA platform, and therefore Mike Collins and his deputy, Maria Longen-Rykoff, they are gone. This is a firing, again, enacted by one Tulsi Gabbard. This was the gentleman, Mike Collins, who was the acting chairman of the National Intelligence Council, and again, his deputy, both being seen as obstacles to the Trump agenda. In the case of Mike Collins, well, oh gosh, this one's pretty simple. Apparently, he's like besties with the guy who orchestrated the whole 51X spooks thing, coming forward and saying that Hunter Biden's laptop was not actually anything other than misinformation, disinformation, provided courtesy of the Russians and Giuliani, when it turned out, yes, the FBI was investigating the laptop and everybody knew it, but they decided to lie anyway. And they placed that story, that letter, remember, in Politico. Well, Mike Brennan was the architect of all of that, along with Antony Blinken. So Mike and Antony got together and they then went out and enlisted people to sign that letter. And it is believed that Mike Collins had a hand in that as well. So obviously that's not going to work. Okay, so this is per the New York Post. Collins had close ties to Mike Morrell, the former deputy director of the CIA, who penned a letter that I just mentioned in 2020 that claimed Hunter Biden's controversial laptop had all the earmarks of a classic Russian information operation. He also set out to get signatures from top ex-intelligence employees. Whoa. Okay, so that's kind of a disqualifier, if you would. Meanwhile, his deputy, Longen-Rykoff, has been a key advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion agendas. Well, that just has you finished these days. Forget about that, because it's, what do you know, against the Constitution, and is, quote, radically opposed to Trump. This is according to whistleblowers. So those allegations being made, and Tulsi saying, all right, you know what, see, I don't need this. Don't forget, this is what she promised. I want to go back to just a few weeks ago when she was on Fox and Friends in the morning, and she promised this. Remember, she was carrying out this investigation. We saw a lot of fireworks with Pete Hegseth, of course, over at the Pentagon, firing a lot of people. A lot of people said, wait a second, I was on his team. What are you doing firing me? In this case, Tulsi was very systematic about it. Perhaps we can credit her years in government, her ability to sort of run that team and very efficiently work through things. She got her intelligence together. She fired these two top people, and we can anticipate that there are many, many more to come. I want to go to Tulsi here on Fox and Friends, promising exactly this. Take a listen.
Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is here, and she's saying this. Deep state criminals, and she puts them on notice, referring to two alleged leakers of classified info of the DOJ for prosecution. So two and more are coming. Third referral is on the way. Here to explain is the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Director, great to see you in person.
Good to see you, Brian.
So I read about this. You indicated to me this was happening. Two people have been found to be leaking. A third on its way. Can you give me the nature of the leaks and how you discovered it?
Let's just first of all point out what we know has been the problem for a very long time. One of the reasons why the American people voted resoundingly for President Trump was to root out the kind of politicization and weaponization of intelligence that has really undermined the trust the American people have in the intelligence community and the national security state, but really what also directly undermines our own national security. So I made it very clear to the U.S. Senate, to the American people when I had the honor of being appointed to this position, that we will not allow this to continue. We take this very seriously. It is illegal to leak classified information. And so what you're seeing here is me carrying out on the promise and the mandate the American people gave Trump. We conducted our own internal investigation. We have referred them now to the Department of Justice and the FBI for an official criminal investigation, because these are crimes and people need to be held accountable to put a stop to this.
When you were Congresswoman, we talked about this. there's people within the department not selling secrets to Russia or China.
Well, we're keeping an eye out for that, too.
Absolutely,
but
undermining the policy of the administration, the first administration, working against you at the CIA, working against you. Now you're finding this out. So you found people who seem motivated to undermine the president.
Yeah. When we look at the examples that I've seen just in the short time that I've been in this position, what they consist of is essentially very selective leaks to their friends in the propaganda media that twist and manipulate intelligence directly to undermine the president's policies and his aggressive work to keep the American people safe.
So she's not messing around here. I just want to point out that, interestingly, the timing on this is probably not a coincidence, because recently you saw that the ODNI, which of course is the office she leads, came out with an assessment basically saying that TDA, Tren de Aragua, which is the Venezuelan gang that Donald Trump and his administration has determined to be a significant threat to the United States, so much so that they're enacting the Aliens Enemy Act to deport them. Well, they came out there at ODNI and said, nope, they're not a threat. So that would obviously be very much in opposition of what the Trump administration is trying to do. It's very clear on that front. So again, I think that may have had some role in her moving forward so immediately. She's been trying, of course, to root out some of these problem people. Now, if you go over to CNN, they'll tell you these were great people, they're brilliant people, that we need them because they're the ones that are trying to assess all the threats that are out there against us. And while I don't dispute that maybe they were good at assessing some of the threats, I think this administration has a different view of those threats that are out there, and is very willing to hear different sides of the argument. And so if you're so wedded to one idea and you're so public about being wedded to that idea and perhaps flying in the face of whatever it is that the Trump administration may need or want, then you're going to have a problem there at Tulsi Gabbard's division. We've seen this sort of all along, right? That the deep state intel department is effectively running things, and it's what Donald Trump was up against, don't forget, before, because he came into the administrative office and he thinks, okay, I'm CEO, right? Like, that's his background. He's a business guy. He thinks, I'm going to put my people in, they're going to do what we need and want, and all of a sudden he runs into this giant deep state apparatus, the swamp that he was trying to drain, and he found that it was really, really difficult to drain because they were going to try and kill him before he could get rid of them. And this time around, he's like, you know what? All bets are off. I'm putting my people in. My people are going to do what my people need to do to make sure that we are getting the policies that I so believe in and I so campaigned on and people elected me for enacted. Whether you consider what's going on in terms of TDA and trying to get Venezuelans involved with this gang, or MS-13 out of the country, or whether you consider it even what was going on in terms of trying to get all the intel on Epstein. Remember Pam Bondi and the frustration she was feeling because there was an effort underway to basically put up a blockade against her. She demanded all of those documents from the New York FBI field office, and they wouldn't turn them over. So, what do you know? The New York field office guy took a retirement. He actually didn't get fired, so I guess he gets his pay for the rest of his life. But, you know, maybe he should have been fired. He wasn't willing to turn this stuff over. And not only was he not willing to turn it over, he actually was encouraging people to oppose what the administration was asking for. So he got sent packing, and what do you know? By Monday morning, Pam Bondi had those documents she so needed, remember?
We all did. And the FBI handed over a couple hundred pages of documents. But, you know, Sean, I gave them a deadline of Friday at 8 a.m. to get us everything. And a source had told me where the documents were being kept. Southern District of New York, shock. So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m. Thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them, and Cash is also, now that we have Cash here, it's a game changer, of course, and Cash is going to, Director Patel, is going to get us a detailed report as to why the FBI withheld all of those documents.
Okay, I want to be clear because I think people got frustrated because they were expecting more. You were expecting more, and you didn't find out less than 24 hours before the release. You got a whistleblower that confirmed that there were way more documents that they were supposed to turn over, and then you found out just before that.
Well, sure. And you're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. You know, there were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? And that's what the FBI had turned over to us. And so a source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York. Yep. So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Cash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. And, you know, we're going to go through it as fast as we can, but go through it very cautiously to protect all the victims of Epstein.
I just want to add to that.
Well, you had identified.
The reality on that situation was, yes, they were trying to effectively put up a blockade. And I think we kind of all have our suspicions as to why, my own suspicion being that most likely Jeffrey Epstein was some kind of intel asset. And that's just not my suspicion. I've actually spoken to sources who were quite close to him, including his doctor, who talked to him about 24 hours before his alleged death. Suicide, as they call it. And his doctor even said to me he did not believe that was the case. He did believe that he was working for Israeli and U.S. intelligence, and these were his suspicions. He had not had that confirmed to him in any way, shape, or form. I have not had that confirmed to me, but I think, you know, we weren't born yesterday. And so that may have been why they were trying to put up a stone wall when it came to Pam and her team trying to get this information. But again, we should all be on the same team, right? And there's a new CEO in place. I keep using that word CEO because a CEO needs everybody sort of, you know, full steam ahead, all chasing the same dream, which in this case would be the policies that would clean up the country, get rid of crime, improve the economy, etc. And part of that means finding out what went down with Epstein, even if it means, right, implicating some members of the U.S. government. So Pam is getting that truckload of Epstein documents, which, by the way, they are going through right now, as we speak, and she has been very cautious about releasing information. I know a lot of people have their own conspiracies about that, but she's making it very clear she does not want any of the victims who have not agreed to come forward to be implicated in any of this. But, you know, I guess I would just go back to this. You know what? If you're not on the team, you probably shouldn't be in government right now. And I think that's becoming very, very apparent. And for good reason, right? For good reason. You know, we are totally independent on the Trish Regan Show. We love being independent. We got lots to talk about, including, oh my gosh, AOC threatening Homan, including ICE taking over Rikers Island and what that means, including breaking news on a federal district judge saying, you know what, we can move forward with the Aliens Enemies Act and you can deport members of TDA as a result of that. And breaking news on Judge Dugan going down. Judge Dugan, grand jury has just indicted Hannah Dugan out of Wisconsin. But first, remember, the benefit of being independent is I can say whatever I want, and I love it. Make sure you subscribe for that. And we get to have great sponsors like our friends over at American Heart for Gold. Trish Loves Gold is where you need to go if you want to get up to $15,000 with qualifying offers in free silver. Silver, of course, has tracked gold quite nicely and has a lot of applicability, right? Because you need silver in a lot of things for building, etc. I'm a big believer in what Donald Trump is doing from an economic policy standpoint, and it's why I am so excited about the markets right now, including actually also being excited about gold, because I think there's a lot of changes that are happening on the global scale that actually make gold increasingly compelling. I'm looking at it down today about 1.7%. It was trading up yesterday. You know, I go in and I try and buy a little bit, just a little bit, because I'm a long-term investor in gold when it's down. So these are those opportunities. Silver actually also looking like more of a bargain today, down 1.9%. So check it out. American Heart for Gold, up to $15,000 worth of free gold for qualifying offers. You can call them at 1-844-495-1115 or text Trish to 6 65532 today. Speaking of the markets, we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but you know I got my company 76 Research, and you know if you're interested in investing, this is absolutely positively where you need to go. 76research.com. Use code word dollar. My gift to you, $1 a month. Can't beat that.